Hello and welcome guys, this is Martin446 today with a tour review for you. Today's tour review, I'm very excited for this one. We're gonna take a look at Neca, A Nightmare on Elm Street, the very first Freddy Krueger. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. I mean super excited for this figure. I was actually really long overdue to get another Freddy Krueger review for you guys, but boy oh boy, I'm ever surprised to see this guy is finally in my hands. Because I think that this particular Freddy Krueger is the definitive and the most best and awesomest Freddy out there. I'm talking Mesco, I'm talking Neca, and McFarlane. I mean, this figure is amazing. But of course, packaging, it is the same form as the original clamshells we always get, like the Neca Player Select or the Friday the 13th figures that has been released the previous year, you know, the Neca Remake Jason 7-inch. But I mean, I can already tell this figure is fantastic. Got there a very creepy picture of Freddy Krueger as seen in Nightmare on Elm Street, the original. Always thought that the really first Nightmare on Elm Street was the best of all. I mean, that particular movie is probably one of my favorite horror films I've ever saw. And there also stand there A Nightmare on Elm Street, right there. On the back, there is a read-up on there as well. Nightmare on Elm Street. Nancy is having grisly nightmares. Something mysterious wants to kill her. Meanwhile, her high school friends who are having the very same dream are being slaughtered in her sleep by the highest friend finds of their shared nightmare. When the police ignore their explanation, she must confront the killer on his shadowy dream. You got there a very awesome picture of Freddy's glove. And also there a very awesome picture of Freddy Krueger right there. Actually the figure itself, which is probably the best figure of Freddy I've ever seen. There's also the other figures, Complete Your Nightmare. You got there Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddy's Revenge. Freddy Krueger was, you know, the nail gloves out of his hands, out of his fingers, I'm sorry. You got also the Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, The Dream Warriors. And also the Freddy Krueger from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 4, The Dream Master. These particular figures are not are not in stores yet. They will release at some point. I don't know. But boy oh boy, how I ever love this figure. Let's get this figure out of the pack. See what we have. So here we got Freddy Krueger out of the packaging. And first I wanted to mention is first what I said, here we go. But if you ask me, this particular Freddy Krueger figure is the best and the nicest and the coolest Freddy Krueger figure I've ever seen. I mean, this figure is fantastic gorgeous. I mean, this figure executes so well on detail, articulation, and overall execution. I mean, this figure is gorgeous. Of course, this isn't the first time we do see a Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Freddy Krueger figure. We also have the Mesco version. The Mesco Nightmare on Elm Street, the really first Freddy Krueger. Many people, and especially in my mind, said that this particular Freddy is really the only Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 Freddy we are gonna get. And of course, we got now the Neca ones. You really see a big difference in the two. And I mean, when this figure didn't came out and kinds of stuff, and in my mind, this particular Freddy figure was the best Freddy Krueger figure out there. And I mean, if you ask me, that was the definitive Freddy figure out there. Now we got this one, and you really see that Neca really is different, but is nicer at some points. It's much nicer at much points, I have to say. I mean, the sweater is on the Neca, I think, much more detailed, much more weathered. Mesco ones is also really nice, I have to say, but you actually see right there, on the underside of his sweater, you actually see a different color on the sweater than on the top right there. If you compare to this one, it's all the same. The face. How much I love the Mesco ones, I don't know. I think still that the Neca ones is a little bit nicer. I mean, it doesn't say that I don't love the Mesco version. I still love the Mesco version, I have to say. Still love the Mesco version, but I do like the Neca ones more. Take a look at this figure. The detail, the work that I've used on this particular figure, on this single 7-inch figure, is, I mean, so spectacular. I mean, it is, I mean, so cool. You got, of course, the wrinkles, which are their championing. You got the sweater, which is very nicely detailed. His pants is also really nicely detailed. It is kind of the same color as the remake Freddy pants. His shoes. I love his face. That's one thing. I love the detail they've used on his face. Of course, you can take the fedora off. It is the same material that they used in the remake Freddy. It is this very nice rubber plastic, and the head is great sculpted too. And now you get even a nicer look on Freddy. I mean, that is, I mean, so amazing. You got the scars, you got the evil grin, and more scars. That is, I mean, just amazing. It is slimy, but I also really like is the paint is, I mean, very clean. There isn't any paint bleeding on this figure. Nothing. The cheek, you got the, I mean, I could talk about hours about this face. I mean, I also like the ear much. I mean, that is so cool. It is just amazing. I mean, the face, I probably give by far a 10. I mean, this figure is so cool. Awesome figure. Of course, we're gonna take a look at the glove. Zoom in right there. Focus. Focus. Here we go. The glove is, I mean, very nicely detailed. Stays really true at the original Nightmare on Elm Street glove, right there. Some people think that this is blood, but it's more like the ironic color he's using in the first Nightmare on Elm Street, or it is blood. I don't know. The blades are also really nice, also rubbery, so they can't break off. This one is a little warped, just a slight bit, but I can easily fix that. I definitely also really like the glove itself. Detail is, I mean, so amazing. So freaking cool. Let's talk about the articulation. Talking about articulation right now, he certainly has really awesome articulation. I mean, it is just amazing. He has a ball joint in the head. He has ball jointed shoulders. You can bend at the elbow, which is my favorite point of articulation. Also rotate the forearm. There is a ball joint at the wrist. It is what the one really nice thing is about these particular Neca ones is because the fact that this shirt is rubbery, if you could see right here, it is rubbery. There is kind of a mid torso articulation, and there is a ball joint in the waist, which works really well. And of course, there's no articulation in the feet, in the knees or thighs or legs, to be expected with these particular figures from Neca, but there is a ball jointed ankle. So that's certainly, in my personal mind, great and amazing articulation. In the way of accessories, he came with Serval. He came with 2 alternative arms. He came with the very long arms, of course, with the beginning of the movie from Nightmare on Elm Street. The first night, well, if you remember, at Tina's death, he had very long arms. I will put the arms on this on the figure. Hold on. So here you got Freddy with the very long arms, and it is on a very large length. These arms. It is probably almost 12 inch, I think. It is probably 10 inch wide. Very cool. I mean, it is for a very awesome display. It still has the same articulation. Bend at the elbow, rotate the elbow, and the ball jointed shoulders. And really cool. I will put now put the alternative head off. And put this head on. Gotta hold a second. Right there. Let's zoom into the face. Oh. Right there. Wow. That is one creepy looking face. But again, I love the detail they use on this particular head. If you compare it to the Mesco ones, he also came with the skull heads. I think that this time Neca wins the battle with the particular head. This one is more realistic at some points, if compared to this one. It looks good, but I like this one more. Very nicely detailed, very scary, very scary. So here we got the normal Freddy again. If you ask me, I rather display him more like this. I like Freddy's how they look like this. I'm more like this particular Freddy, which you know, I like this particular Freddy more, how he looks right now. But this figure executes so well and is so freaking awesome, and is, in my mind, the best Freddy Krueger figure of all time right now. This particular Freddy is nicer than all the Cinema Fear Freddys. It's nicer than the other Neca figures they've released in the past from Freddy, of course. I mean, this figure is so freaking cool. If you're a big Freddy figure, and if you're searching for the definitive one, it needs to be this one. Also, Neca had released the Part 2 Freddy, but I have to say, I do like the first one much more. I mean, this one is so freaking amazing. The detail is fantastic. I give that absolutely a 10. The articulation is great, and the accessories are nice. I love the fact that it came with the extendable arms. I love the head sculpt. I love the glove. I mean, yes, guys, this figure gets a 10. This figure gets a 10 out of 10. Yes, I know, I say a 10 a lot in my reviews, but I really have to say this figure kind of deserves it, because if there are many Freddy fans out there, of course, and if you do like action figures, I really recommend to pick up this one. This is, to me, the Freddy Krueger figure out there. The reason also why I like this figure more than the second one, because if you ask me, the first Nightmare on Elm Street movie was the best of all. Also, there he fell, sorry. Freddy Krueger in Nightmare on Elm Street Part 1 was, I think, in my personal mind, more like the definitive looking Freddy. Yes, it is the first design of Freddy, but when I saw Nightmare on Elm Street the first time, I think I saw Nightmare on Elm Street the first time at January 2010, and when I saw the movie, I was blown away about Freddy. I thought he was just amazing. Of course, I saw Freddy vs. Jason first, but I was in that time really a big Jason fan, and when I had the chance to watch Nightmare on Elm Street, I said to myself, well, I will see the movie because I like Freddy quite a bit, and I will watch it. And when I saw it, I was blown away. Definitely blown away. Freddy, I mean, to me, this is the Freddy figure out there. So Freddy gets here a solid 10, and really recommend. I will really recommend this figure. If you are a Freddy fan, you need to pick up this one. But of course, if you're more a fan of the Nightmare Part 2 Freddy, you kind of must pick up the Part 2 Freddy from Neca. Soon enough, Part 3 and Part 4 will release, also in stores. I don't know when they will release, but there was again a figure review from Martin 446, and I'll see you guys next time with another review.